Hi, I'm Mark Safe, and we're talking about optimal tournament strategy, specifically late stages, getting close to that final table. Even though tournaments tend to get looser once the money bubble bursts, things tend to tighten up again as players approach the final table. In this lesson, we'll show you what to look for as the tournament reaches the late stages and how to adjust your game to maximize your chance of winning the whole thing. In many ways, it's best to look at the period after the money bubble bursts as a new, smaller tournament. Where people are generally playing looser poker once they reach the money, they begin to tighten up as the final table approaches, and as you did before, you should begin to change your game to compensate. Just as making the money is overvalued by many players, so is reaching the final table. This means that they'll tend to tighten up their games and become more susceptible to pressure applied by more aggressive opponents like you. The best time to really step up the pressure on your opponents is when the tournament reaches about 15 players. First, this is a spot where the final table is tantalizingly close. There are just 6 more players who have to be eliminated before the remaining players can take center stage. Second, and more importantly, with just 15 or fewer players left in the tournament, the tables become short-handed. Yum, yum. This is important for 2 reasons. When play becomes short-handed, you're seeing the blinds come around much faster, which means you can't afford to sit back and wait for premium hands. You need to play a wider range of starting hands to at least maintain your stack. It's with the fact that many of your opponents will naturally be tightening up their game at this point, and you'll reestablish your image as a maniacal player, which will help you when you do actually reach the final table. Once the final table bursts, be prepared to tighten up your game again. Just as many people went crazy after making the money, those players whose goal was to simply reach the final table will begin to loosen up their games and gamble more, especially if they're short-stacked. This means you're going to want stronger hands when you're getting involved in a pot. Also remember that once you reach the final table, you're no longer short-handed. The blinds are coming around at a much slower pace, meaning you can afford to sit back and wait for better hands. Finally, remember that the loose, aggressive image you develop during the period of short-handed play just before the final table will be working in your favor once you're playing a tighter game. Because you were so aggressive just a short time earlier, your opponents will tend to overplay weak hands against you because they won't give you credit for having a good hand.